In this video, I will show you the best and what I consider the most optimal settings you can possibly have for Marvel Rivals, including 2 extra things you can do outside of the in-game settings, so let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into the game settings, I would like to show you some Nvidia settings that I have just to make the game a little bit more optimized. These are very important if you want to get the maximum boost out of your computer. So one kind of minor setting that I have enabled that kind of makes the game a little bit more sharp and you can kind of see the edges of things a little bit better is image scaling in the control panel. So I like to turn this on and I have it at about 70. It just makes things a little bit more crisp and you can kind of see outlines and stuff a bit better, so I like to keep this on. These don't really matter too much. I would say the most important settings is that you have the background application max frame rate. Put this at like 60 FPS or something, just so it's not going to kill your computer when you minimize the window or whatever. Then you have here low latency mode. Put this on the highest setting you possibly can, so in my case it's ultra here. So this will give you the lowest possible latency that your monitor will allow, and it will give you the best chance of reacting in the game. Max frame rate, you can either disable or enable this, it's personal preference. I like to keep mine on and keep it at like 240 because that's my monitor's refresh rate. There's no point in having more FPS than that, it won't give me any more frames in game. So I like to keep mine on and capped at 240 FPS. And down here at power management mode, you can see you have the option of global setting, normal, or prefer maximum performance. I go for prefer maximum performance because you get the most out of your computer and your graphics card that way. And those are kind of the main settings for the Nvidia control panel. I think these will definitely optimize your game. The rest of the settings are kind of like personal preference mostly. There's not much of a performance impact from them. Alright, so into the in-game settings, we'll go to display first. So display mode I have on full screen. Obviously your target display should be your primary monitor. And your aspect ratio, I have mine at 16:9, but I know some people play on stretch res and stuff, so that's just personal preference again. Resolution is 1920 by 1080 for me. Anti-aliasing and super resolution type. Right, so this is kind of where things get a bit interesting. So I would recommend either AMD or Nvidia DLSS. If you have Nvidia DLSS, I would say you can use it, just because it does make things a lot, better looking. And I think you get a bit more performance out of it. It might be like a slight bit better than the AMD one. But with the other options, I would say just don't bother using them. Like the Intel one, wouldn't recommend, or the EPIC or the TAAU. I would say just go for Nvidia DLSS if you have the option. And if you don't have this, then go for the AMD FSR. Super resolution mode, I go for ultra quality just because it gives me the crispiest image and it allows me to see things a bit better. I can go to performance and just show you the difference here. So performance, obviously things are a little bit more blurry, a little bit more, as you can see when I move my screen and stuff, it's a little bit more pixely and kind of like a lower bit rate when you're watching a video kind of thing. But if I put it on maximum on ultra quality performance, yeah, as you can see, things stay a little bit more consistent when I move my camera and such. Like things are a bit more, I don't know, static as opposed to like a kind of a motion blur effect. So it's just a bit easier to see, I think, personally. And super resolution sharpening, again, this is probably just personal preference. Like, you can put it a bit higher if you want, it doesn't make a huge difference. I have my sharpening turned on from the Nvidia control panel anyway, so this wouldn't make a huge difference to me. But I'll show you the comparison. So this is 0. It's a little bit like, yeah, it's actually okay. I don't mind this. This is alright. And then we can turn it on to maximum. And yeah, it's a lot sharper. You can kind of see the outlines and stuff a bit better of things, I think. But it's not a huge difference. That is personal preference again. Frame generation mode, I would turn this on if you have the AMD frame generation option. I think it does give a massive performance boost. I think it's like a 10% or 15% increase in FPS. So I would say turn this on if you have the option. It's a bit more heavy on your processing power for sure, but I think it is definitely worth it. You do get a lot more performance, especially if you're struggling to get frames in the game. Low latency mode, I would definitely turn this on if you have the Nvidia Reflex low latency option, purely because sometimes in video games, like if something peeks a corner, there can be this microsecond in between where they're not on your screen and they can shoot you. With the low latency, they will appear a bit faster. There's a bunch of videos comparing these online and like the difference is very significant. So you can definitely see people in the game a lot faster if you have the setting turned on. Like they genuinely appear on your screen more precisely than if you don't have it on. So I would definitely recommend this option if you have it. Brightness, right. So this is something I actually figured out today. This is actually a very interesting setting. Okay, so I have yellow outlines, right, for my enemies, okay? I have this in every game I play. I turn on yellows for my enemy color. So with the brightness setting, right, I thought, like, when I first played the game, okay, 70 is good. 70 is nice and bright. I'll be able to see all the environment. Everything will be cool. And I was playing with this setting, but I realized from far away, it's very hard to make out the outline of enemies and see their actual model, because the brighter you make your settings, the brighter the outline, I'm pretty sure. So like the yellow takes up a lot of the hitbox here, as you can see. Like this is basically all yellow and it won't always register. Like I'm shooting the yellow right now. Wait, here? I'm shooting the yellow. It is not registering. It is not counting as a hit because her actual head is the hitbox. The trick with this, right, is to make it so that your brightness is like bright enough that you can see, but not too bright, because the outlines will be very, very bright and overtake the whole hitbox. As you can see, now I see a lot more of her hitbox and less of the outline. So I think in the future, I will be playing at about 50 brightness instead of what I had it at, which was 70. I'll do another comparison, so we'll just say I go to 100 brightness. As you can see, outlines very, very bright. And look at this, her outline takes up like the whole screen basically. You can barely see her hitbox, it's just outline. But if I turn it down to say 40, you see a lot more of the character, right? Like that's a big significant difference. So I think the sweet spot that I found was about 55 or 60, I think is pretty good, because you can still see a lot, but you can still see the actual player's hitbox instead of just outline, which is very nice. I think it's nice to be able to actually see the hitbox rather than just outline. From far away you're just seeing yellow, and it's very hard to make out where the actual hitbox is. I'll show the comparison again. So this is 55 brightness and this is 100 brightness. Yeah, as you can see, much harder to see with the 100 brightness, right? I know especially in this game it's not the best color for standing out because a lot of stuff is kind of yellow or gold, so it kind of makes sense that yellow wouldn't be the best color, but I like to use yellow because I use it in every game, so that's what I'm used to and I'll stick with it. Limit FPS, as I said earlier with the control panel, you can turn this on or off if you want to. I cap mine at 240 just because. If you have VSync, I would say turn this off because it does make it so that your game reacts a little bit slower. There's a bit more latency if you do have VSync on. It makes your game a bit more consistent frame-wise, but it's not worth it because the latency is a lot higher. VSync just is a weird system and I would not recommend it. I have G-Sync because of Nvidia control panel and I think that's a lot better than VSync. Alright, down to the important stuff, the graphic settings. Right, so obviously I have it on custom. I have global illumination on low quality because this is a very, very high performance demanding setting. So I could definitely recommend you put this on low quality. Ultra quality will kill your frames, watch. Look at this. I'm only getting about 235 right now. And this is low quality. I get 340 with low quality, so you can get like 100 FPS boost if you just turn this setting to low. Trust me, it is worth it. Reflection quality, I have this with screen space reflections because lumen reflections is a lot more intensive. Model detail, I have it high because you do want to see the models in this game. Some stuff does definitely help, especially with hitboxes and things, to actually get the outline properly. This definitely does help as a setting. I would recommend this. Post-processing, you have low. Honestly, it doesn't do much. Just keep it low and it'll help your performance. Shadow detail, low. You don't need shadows in the game. They don't help that much. You can turn it on medium if you want. I personally have it on low. Texture detail, medium. You want to have textures on medium because low can be like pretty scuffed sometimes, but ultra is just crazy and you don't need that. Effects detail, low, don't need them. Foliage quality, low, don't need it. For audio, this is again absolute personal preference. I can recommend you turn down music volume a bit, turn down the in-game voice volume, because this is the announcer volume and it can be quite loud, so I would say turn this down a lot. You don't need to hear that all the time. Hear like a little bit, but not too much, because it'll block out some of the important sounds that you need to hear. Sound effects, have this up pretty high. You need to have sound effects for like footsteps and things like that. Lobby ambience volume, don't need it. Turn it down to whatever you want, just something low. Music volume, again, unnecessary, just turn it down to something low. Playback mode, set this to headphones because you're probably going to be playing with headphones. If you're not, then set it to whatever you're using. 3D enhancement, turn this on because if you are playing with headphones, it will like give you kind of a directional sense of where the person is coming from. If there's someone running at you, you'll hear the footsteps like behind you or in front of you, whatever it might be. And background playback, personal preference. If you want to have audio in the background, if your game is minimized, you can turn this on. Voice chat, personal preference, put your microphone here, voice chat volume whenever you want it to be, as high as you want, as low as you want. If your mic is kind of quiet, maybe turn up your mic or whatever it might be. That's just personal preference again. Voiceover subtitles, some players play with this on. I don't personally, but I can see how it would give you an advantage. For example, the announcement is actually in chat instead of Galacta saying it out loud in the voice lines and stuff. So if you want to have this on, you can absolutely, but I just prefer with it off probably. Now, combat mix is actually important stuff. This is where it matters in game, and you can actually hear footsteps and sounds and things like that. So hit indicator, you can turn this up or down. Actually, might turn mine down a little bit because it is quite loud in the game. A lot of this stuff is personal preference. Announcer volume is quite loud though, so I would recommend turning this one down. This one can definitely be distracting at times. Now, this is an important setting, KO sound cue. Definitely turn this on. Definitely turn the enemy KO sound on. Because this will automatically like just click in your head. After a few games, you'll actually start to like recognize the sound. Even when you're playing, you don't pay attention to the kill feed. It'll start playing in your head. Like if you hear this sound, you know your team is losing. If you hear this sound, you'll know your team is winning. It'll just be like a systematic thing in your brain after a while. So definitely turn these two settings on. Okay, over to keyboard. For sensitivity, obviously you want to use the same sense. If you come from Overwatch, obviously plug your sensitivity into a sensitivity converter, like mousesensitivity.com, and it'll convert it into your Marvel Rival sensitivity, and then just put that, whatever it gives you, put that for your horizontal and your vertical sensitivity. For crosshair, you can make your own one if you want. There's a couple of options already here, like circle, crosshairs, circle and crosshairs. I prefer to use a dot. I've always used a dot in all games I play, so I just prefer the dot myself personally. If you want my dot, this is what it looks like. It's literally just like a simple, like kind of cyan circle with a little black outline. It's very, very simple crosshair, and I like it a lot because it's just like a very small pixel crosshair, so I can just put it on someone's head and they die. That's just what I like anyway. Allied health bars, definitely turn this on. You need to know when your teammates are low or if they need healing. Then for all the keybinds, if you have another game like Overwatch that you played, obviously use the same keybinds. It'll definitely help. It'll be like muscle memory. But there are a few unique things. For example, the team up ability keys. These are not in any other game. So I set mine to 3, 4, and 5 because these keys aren't being used. So I can definitely recommend 3, 4, and 5 if you're not using them already for something. I've been told I have pretty weird keybinds when it comes to these abilities. And I guess that's fair, but like these work for me, so I'm fine with them. My ability 1 is V, my ability 3 is C, and my ability 2 is Control. Just from Overwatch, this is what I'm used to, so I keep it this way. For the UI, I think by default the chronovision is H, but I set mine to Q because most people have their ultimate key as Q. I don't use my ultimate key as Q, I use mine as X, so I set my chronovision to Q instead. Communication settings, right, so this is where things get a bit interesting because the ping system in this game is not very good. That is one of my few faults with the game. The ping system's not very good. If you press your ping key, sometimes it'll just spam like a random communication. Like it'll just say like need healing. If you're trying to ping an enemy, it'll say like need healing or gather up or my ultimate's ready or whatever it is. I just want to ping the enemy and the game does not do that. And I try to ping it like really, really hard and sometimes it just sends random communications. And it's actually pretty frustrating. Overwatch doesn't have this problem, but hopefully they patch it in the future. So I set my need healing key and I set my spray key. Those are the only ones I use personally. You can set the rest to a keybind if you want, but my quick communications are just group up, ultimate status, need healing, and thanks. That's my 4. And I use the need healing as I. But if you need to set up a keybind, I definitely recommend just do the need healing one, because this is the most important, I would say. Because sometimes your healers don't know when you're low or whatever it might be. You can set up the sensitivity of stuff for like different pings. I set my ping wheel delay because I don't want to open it by accident. I set it kind of high. By default, it's like 20. I set it to 70 just because I don't want to accidentally open the ping wheel when I'm trying to ping an enemy. Like I'm not trying to open my quick communications when I'm trying to like tell people there's an enemy here. I just want to ping the enemy. And it's kind of buggy. It does not work properly really. So just, yeah, keep that in mind if you're trying to use the ping system. It's a little messed up. I play on keyboard and mouse, obviously, because I'm a PC player, but if you play on controller or whatever, I don't know the sensitivity controls for controllers, so that'll be totally up to you, sorry. This is just for PC users, unfortunately. And in your social settings, all this stuff is personal preference, except for this right here. The avoid as teammate option is the best thing you can possibly use, because it might not happen every game, but in some games, no matter what happens, you will get someone who's going to throw or just not play the game properly or whatever, and you have them as a teammate, or maybe someone's cheating and you don't want to have them on your team. You use the avoid as teammate option like it's a lifesaver. Unfortunately, there's only 3 slots. I hope they add more slots in the future, but there's only 3 slots for now. So you have to avoid as teammate and they end up in this list, but if you want to remove them as avoid as teammate, you go into this list in the social menu, do manage, and then you can remove these people here. In other, you can do run diagnostics for your network if you're having network issues. That's totally fine. In-game pop-up tutorials, I keep mine on. They're kind of fun. They don't really distract me or anything, so I just leave them on. Why not? In accessibility, if you have color blindness, you can change it to one of these settings. There's deuteranopia, protanopia, and tritanopia. And this is a kind of major setting that I'm really glad they added. I'm very, very happy with this setting, in fact, because I love having this in games. You can change your ally outline color to whatever you want. I like to have mine as this nice kind of blue-green, like kind of, I don't even know, aqua kind of color. I love this color. It's like my favorite color. Enemy color, I always have in yellow. There's also an orange yellow, which is like very similar, but I just put it on yellow because I have yellow for most games. So you can see the preview here. Basically yellow outline here. If you're close enough to hit them, they kind of glow a bit yellow. And yeah, I really like this color. I just think it's really nice and I like to use it. But that, again, this is personal preference. You can set yours to absolutely whatever you want. I like to have my enemy color yellow though. That is a very important setting to me. HP bar color. This is, again, personal preference. I just leave mine as white. I think it's fine. I don't really see the need to change it or anything. I think white's pretty okay for this. You can change the shield too if you want to, whatever your color. I like to just leave mine on blue. I don't see a point in changing this one really. I think it's totally fine the way it is. For warning color, I think like orange or red is pretty good. It's just like what we associate with danger. So I think just like either orange or red or even like pink or something like that. I probably wouldn't go for like a green because you might like, I don't know, not associate it with danger or anything then, but I like to have mine on red because I just associate, you know, red is danger, so yeah. Okay, onto the hero settings. As you can see, I have a couple of heroes that I just have to change the settings for individually, because some of them have very unique settings and they need to be changed. For example, Iron Man's flight is a very important one, so let's get started. Okay, so the first one is Hawkeye. The only setting I have changed for this is I set my secondary weapon to right click, because he doesn't actually have a secondary attack, I don't believe. So he only shoots with his left click, and he does this for both weapons. So I have the primary weapon as 1 and the secondary weapon as right click. So it's not a big thing, it just felt a bit more natural to me, I don't know. I feel like I wish they put it as left click and right click for the explosive arrows. So with explosive arrows, I wish it was right click to shoot them. And I wish for the regular arrows, it was left click. And there was no like switching between weapons, you know, because I just don't think it feels very natural to go like 1, 2, and then shoot. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, this feels more natural to me. So I have my primary on 1, I just shoot normally like this, and then I go my right click, and it switches to the other weapon, and yeah, shoot 3 arrows, and then I go back to my 1, and yeah. So it's just like 1 and right click are my 2 settings. It's kind of weird, maybe I'm just like, I don't know, I have to change it at some point, but I kind of like this. It feels a little bit more natural to me so far anyway, so I'll see how it is in the future though. Next up is Iron Man. So for flying characters, by default, it's actually, this setting is off, hold to perform hypervelocity, which is where you basically fly faster. This is usually off by default, which is not very natural. You have to toggle it. And I think that holding it is a lot more intuitive, and you don't have to press as many keys. So if I play Iron Man here, I have it on hold control. So I think it's a lot more natural to hold control, because you're just pressing the key once, you hold it down until you stop, and then you let go of the key. But if you just have it on like toggle, I think you just have to like press, and then press again, and press again to stop. Like it's just, it doesn't feel very good, I think, personally. So I just have it on hold. I think it's a lot better, a lot more natural, and yeah, I like it. And the exact same thing with Star-Lord, I would turn this setting on, it's off by default, hold to activate rocket propulsion, and that's the flight again. So basically you hold this down and it makes you fly, you let go and it stops, instead of having to press it once to fly and then press it again to stop. And for Jeff the Landshark, it's a very similar thing with hold to dive. Again, it's more natural, I think, to just hold down your dive like this, you keep it held, and when you want to come up, you let go, instead of having to toggle it. So it's the same thing as the flying characters. You just basically want to have everything on hold instead of fly, or hold instead of toggle when it comes to like anything with flying, or just like a temporary thing, like a temporary change of speed or whatever it might be. And then moving on to like the wall crawl settings. So there's 4 characters with these settings, I believe. So it's Jeff the Landshark, Rocket Raccoon, Spider-Man, and Venom have these wall crawl settings, right? So I think hold to wall crawl is a lot better than having to toggle it again. So with Jeff, at least for me, you press control to go underwater, and then you press spacebar to wall climb, and I have it on hold. So you're actually holding 2 keys when you're doing this. I think this makes a lot more sense than having to press like control and then space, and then to get out of this you have to like press space again, or whatever it might be. But I think just like hold, control, hold space, and you go up the wall, and then you let go when you want to get out. It's a lot more simple, I think. So just put both these settings on hold. It'll be a lot easier, a lot more natural, I think. And direction of wall crawling, this is personal preference. For Venom, I have it on towards crosshair, but I think for everyone else, I have it on advanced vertically upwards, because Venom can't use WASD. I don't think he can only use W, but every other character can use their WASD keys to navigate walls and stuff. So for Rocket Raccoon, again, I have hold to run on walls, and I have direction of wall crawling actually towards crosshair. So I didn't realize this, but apparently I have it on towards crosshair, which it doesn't matter too much with Rocket. You don't do that much climbing with Rocket, but it's still nice to have the advanced towards crosshair for this guy, I think. And the way this works is basically you move your crosshair in the direction you want him to go. I think that's a lot more natural, at least for me, when I'm climbing with Rocket at least. I think with Spider-Man I have it off though. For Spider-Man I have it vertically upwards, I'm pretty sure. But for Rocket I think this makes a lot more sense, because when Rocket starts climbing he doesn't stop. You can't stop him from climbing. So this is a better way to steer, I think, because otherwise if you do vertically upwards, I feel like a lot of the time when you go on a wall it just keeps going up and up and up, and you don't want that a lot of the time. You want to have some like control to it. So I think this is a lot better if you move with your crosshair and stuff like this. At least for Rocket I like this setting. For Spider-Man, I have hold to swing on. I think this is a lot more natural than the toggle swing. I think the toggle swing sucks. I would not recommend it to anyone. Automatic swinging, turn this off. It's not good. It's really not good. It's a bad setting. It doesn't work the way you want it to. Yeah, turn this off. Hold to wall crawl, I have this on, obviously. And hold to run on walls, obviously on. So direction of wall crawling, I have this one advanced vertically upwards. So as you can see, I'm on the wall here. I can press my WASD keys. So I go W to go up, I go D to go sideways or to the right, I go A to go left, and then S to go down, which makes perfect sense. And I can also run and do the same thing. But advanced, I don't like advanced vertically upwards that much, I don't think. It's a little bit weird to me. Like, I like looking in the direction and being able to have more control. Like, you know, you can kind of hold W and make the character move in that direction. The advanced vertically upwards just feels really weird to me sometimes. So I might just keep it like this setting. I think the crosshair one's a little bit better, honestly. So yeah, you want to have your swing on hold. Definitely, because at least you just press it once and you let go when you want to let go, instead of having to toggle it every time. Especially if you're doing a quick swing, pressing control twice can be a bit, like, frustrating. Like, if I want to release there, I have to press it twice, you know? It's just not very intuitive. So definitely hold to wall climb, and definitely hold to web swing. Same thing again with Venom. With the wall crawl and the run-on walls, definitely turn them on hold. I think it's a lot easier. I have Venom definitely on advanced towards crosshair. With Venom, feels a lot more natural because he doesn't have any WASD, like I'll show you here. Venom cannot walk backwards. I'm pressing my S, A, and D keys right now. Nothing happens. He can only press W like this. And with Venom, I think the crosshair movement is a lot better than the other one, the vertically upwards one. So I like to have the crosshair for Venom. Absolutely. I think it's a lot better. And obviously have hold to swing on, definitely recommend that. An easy swing, this is actually something I started using recently, but this is actually really good, I think. This is a really good setting, because I thought it might be like annoying to have like, I don't know, automatic kind of grappling, like it picks a random point. But for Venom, I think it's really good. Because sometimes you can't find a point, especially if you're like trying to get out of a situation really quickly. You can't find a point to grapple on. Like say I'm just like, I don't know, fighting someone here. I need a quick getaway, like in this direction. I can't find anything. Like if I'm just like flicking up randomly and I want to get away, like I'm just like, oh crap, I can't find anything. But with the auto swing or the easy swing, it just finds one for me and puts me in that direction. I think it's actually a really good setting. I would definitely recommend this. Because without the easy swing, you have to actually aim the grapple point and pick that point. But with the easy swing on, it just picks one for you. Like this, it's a really good setting, I think. I didn't realize it for ages, but now I think it's actually a very good setting to have. And it sends you in the direction that you're facing as well, so it's not just like a random pull out of nowhere. I think it's a very good setting. Then we have Namor, and again, this is another hold to activate ability. This is hold to activate Blessing of the Deep, and hold to fall slowly. I would turn both of these on. I don't really play Namor myself. I have never played him in a game actually, but I do think having the bubble on hold to activate is a lot better than toggle, personally. So this way you can enter it and then leave it quickly if you want. If you did a mistake or something, you don't have to press the keybind twice. And obviously falling, you want to have it on hold spacebar to fall slowly instead of toggle, because who's going to toggle that, like? Then we have Loki, and there's just one setting here I think is a pretty good one to turn it on, and that's double confirmation for God of Mischief. So obviously when Loki duplicates, there are a lot of characters in the game, there's 12 players, and you don't want to accidentally duplicate the wrong person. So with this ability, you just click on the person with your ultimate keybind, and it gives you a little window. You just left click if you're sure that's the person you want, and yeah, take them like that. I think this is a lot easier and a lot better just in case you get the wrong person and you don't, you know, you don't want to mess up your transformation or get the wrong person. Like, you don't want to get like a shark randomly by mistake or anything like that. So it's nice to have a little confirmation just to be sure that you get the right person. The final setting I have is for Moon Knight, and this is just a personal preference thing. This is totally just my preferred way of playing. Hold to glide, I would definitely have this on for everyone. I've changed a couple of the keybinds around because for me it didn't feel super natural to play Moon Knight. For example, with Punisher, his grapple hook is on control for me. With Moon Knight, by default, it was C, I think. So I set it to control because that just felt pretty natural to me. And I've changed the Night Glider to left shift. So I had my grapple hook on C, right, which did not feel natural at all. I changed that to control. That's a lot more natural to me because Punisher has the same thing with his grapple hook. And this then meant that the gliding was set to C, because the gliding, by default, is set to control, so I had to swap them around. But C did not feel natural for gliding, so I set that to shift. So basically, I switched the grapple hook from C to control, and I switched the gliding to left shift. Because I think for me, this feels a lot more natural than C. C did not feel good for this, and control did not feel good for this. So yeah, I set it to shift. Ideally, the gliding would be on hold spacebar to glide, but unfortunately, spacebar is used for the double jump, and you can't use it for both. So I just set the gliding to shift instead, and I think that feels a lot more natural to me at least. But that's just personal preference. You don't have to play that way if you don't want to. Okay, so that's all the in-game settings done. Now there are two files as well that you can also use and this will basically, one of them will turn off mouse acceleration, which is on by default in Marvel Rivals. I have no idea why, but for any of you gamers out there, you know mouse acceleration is really bad, and one file will give you a massive FPS boost. I'm talking like 100 probably FPS boost, because there are a lot of optimizations in this file that the game will not allow you to change in-game itself. So what you want to do is you want to click on the link that I have down in the description of this video, and it'll bring you to this Steam community page, and this basically is like kind of a guide for how to boost your FPS in the game and stuff like that. So you want to go to step 2 and step 3. We'll start off with step 2. Step 2 is the FPS boost. So basically you go to this directory right here. You want to basically make 2 new files. I think the easiest way to do this is just by copy and pasting this one right here. So we can copy this and paste it here, and then paste another one. And then you want to rename this to engine, and rename the other one to input. And now if we check on the Steam page, you can click on either one of these and it'll give you a performance boost. So I use this one, but if you're having like a really hard time running the game, I would recommend use the more performance one. So it'll make your game look a lot worse, but it'll give you a massive performance boost. So you click on this and it'll bring you to this page, and you basically just want to copy and paste this entire thing here. So Control C, and then we open the engine page and we delete what we copied from the game user settings. Get this out of here. And then we paste in what we copied from this page. And then you want to just save this, so Control S. And it might bring up this pop-up window, and in this case, it's kind of weird like this. So what I do is I just put an S at the end here. I need to name it .ini like this, and then do save. And it'll make a new one here, delete the old one, and then just remove the I on this here. And then we have our engine ready. And these settings will grant you a massive performance boost. I'm not joking. I went from like kind of 200-ish average to about 400 after using this. So this is a crazy boost. It disables so many features that you just don't really care about, like some reflections and translucency and stuff like that. It just knocks those out, and it gives you a crazy boost. And the final thing is the mouse acceleration. This was a crazy feature that I learned about, and I didn't have any idea that this was a thing until my friend told me. And apparently, yeah, this is like a regular thing in Unreal Engine games where it's on by default. And any gamers out there will know that mouse acceleration is really bad. You don't want mouse acceleration, because the way it basically works is the faster you move your mouse in real life, the higher your sensitivity goes. And you don't want that, because you want to have a consistent sensitivity. Like whenever you're moving your mouse, you want to have it the same, and you'll never be able to have like a muscle memory if it's just always changing with the speed that you move it at. So to disable it in Marvel Rivals, you basically use this here. So step 3, and you make a new file called input, which we already did. So we open this, we delete the stuff we already had from the other file, and then you just literally copy and paste this text here in step 3 into the document. And then you do Control S, and of course again it'll make this pop-up window. So we do inputs and then .ini, and then save, and that will make a new file here. So we delete the old one, and then we just rename this one to... And now when you launch your game, your sensitivity will be very consistent, and it won't have any of the weird settings that Marvel Rivals has on by default. I don't know why the game has that still. The developers really should have turned it off, or at least given us an option to toggle it off, but they didn't. So unfortunately we're stuck with this, but at least we have a way to disable it now. So I would recommend you use both these files, because they definitely help your game, at least until there are patches in the future where it's a bit more optimized and they actually give us an option to disable mouse acceleration. And that is all of my personal settings for Marvel Rivals. I hope this was of some use to you. I hope you learned something, and if there's anything that I'm missing, do let me know. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.